What in the world is the difference between a mistake and a sin? I'll talk about that in just a second. I know there are a lot of songs and testimonies and people out there that say, I've made mistakes. I've made a mistake. It's a mistake. I do it too. We all do. But what's the difference really between a mistake and a sin? Well, a sin is something that separates you from God. A mistake is not necessarily something that separates you from God. Now, I'm an English teacher, and I do a lot of writing, and I try to write and not make mistakes and correct errors and that kind of thing. But I noticed that on my own videos here, I have a word that I switch places with the L and the E, and in one of my ending statements I said, hot the bell instead of hit the bell, and I didn't catch that until I posted it. Now, there's probably a way to go back and change that, but I don't know how to do that and not mess up the time it was uploaded and all of that from my phone. So I'm probably just going to leave them as a testimony that I make mistakes. Those kinds of mistakes, those aren't sins. They're just mistakes. They're errors. Now, sin is a completely different thing. Sin separates us from God. Sin is something that we do that takes us out of the will of God, or something that we do that keeps us from being in fellowship with Him. Now, I don't want to just dwell on semantics, but sometimes when we use the word mistake, we're really probably using it the wrong way. We should say that a sin is a sin. We need to call evil, evil, and good, good. And I think in our society today, we're having some issues with calling certain things that a lot of people say are just fine and good and moral, and honestly, they're not. As a Christian, we have to make our standard be what the Bible tells us and what Christ taught us. So when you say, I've made a mistake, understand that that's what that is. And sometimes we have to understand the difference between mistakes and sins. Don't beat yourself up about mistakes. We all make those. Try your best to avoid sin, but we all end up making those too. As I'm making videos, I sometimes think of topics, and for some reason I thought about this difference between mistake and sin. I'm not sure why it's even important, but I think a lot of times people associate mistakes with something that is poor quality in their own character, and it might not necessarily be a poor quality of your character. Captain Picard on the Enterprise famously said, "It's possible to make no mistakes and still lose." So remember that. Don't beat yourself up over your mistakes. Focus on changing your life and on staying away from sin. Be kind to each other. Have a great day.